because you, and I mean specifically you, the press, specifically you, the press corps, because you cheer against Trump so hard, it's like in your DNA and in your blood to cheer against Trump, because you want him not to be successful so bad, you have to cheer against the efficacy of these strikes. You have to hope maybe they weren't effective. Maybe the way the Trump administration has represented them isn't true. So let's take half-truths, spun information, leaked information, and then spin it. Spin it in every way we can to try to cause doubt and manipulate the public mind over whether or not our brave pilots were successful. How many stories have been written about how hard it is to, I don't know, fly a plane for 36 hours? Has MSNBC done that story? Has Fox? Have we done the story how hard that is? Have we done it 2 or 3 times so that American people understand? How about how difficult it is to shoot a drone from an F-15 or 16 or F-22 or F-35? Or what it's like to man a Patriot battery? Or how hard it is to refuel midair? Giving the American people an understanding of how complex and sophisticated this mission really was. There are so many aspects of what our brave men and women did that because of the hatred of this press corps are undermined because your people are trying to leak and spin that it wasn't successful. It's irresponsible. And folks in this room are privy to that information because of the proximity here in the Pentagon. It's an important responsibility. And time again, classified information is leaked or peddled for political purposes to try to make the president look bad. And what's really happening is you're undermining the success of incredible B-2 pilots and incredible F-35 pilots and incredible refuelers and incredible air defenders who accomplished their mission, set back a nuclear program in ways that other presidents would have dreamed. How about we celebrate that? How about we talk about how special America is, that only we have these capabilities? I think it's too much to ask, unfortunately, for the fake news. So we're used to that. But we also have an opportunity to stand at the podium and read the truth of what's really happening. And the reality is you want to call it destroyed, you want to call it defeated, you want to call it obliterated, choose your word. This was an historically successful attack, and we should celebrate it as Americans, and it gives us a chance to have peace, chance to have a deal, and an opportunity to prevent a nuclear Iran, which is something President Trump talked about for 20 years.
If you're new to this channel, I talk about this all the time, how the mainstream media's credibility is so in the dumps that the only group of people that still watch and trust legacy media is Democratic voters at 51%. So they barely got a majority with Democratic voters. They're the only political group that trusts them. Americans trust in media at a lowest in 5 decades, according to a survey made in February 27th, 2025. And you wonder why. You saw from the intro, I gave Pete Hegseth the floor, essentially. He ripped into the media, into the White House press corps, right? The leakers putting out half-baked information. Oh, it was made in low confidence. CNN, we're just asking questions. It's a job of journalists to get the answers, right? Jake Tapper, fake Tapper. Oh, where was all this curiosity with the Biden mental decline stuff? Oh, now you want to exercise curiosity. And everyone knows it's from a political motive. When you take into the factor since 2018, journalism has been liberal, has been designated as the most liberal profession. Come on, bias. And this is the problem. Like, many people don't understand how dishonestly objective the mainstream media and these so-called experts are. How wrong do these people have to be before we wake up, majority of Americans wake up to the buffoonery of the mainstream media? The mainstream media believe that it's their job to control perception. That's their number one job. And once you know that's their number one job, it's a lot harder to fall into these little fear-mongering tactics, these doubt tactics that they try to do. Fact check. Fact check what? CNN used fact checks just to cast doubt on assertions and claims made by opposing political ideology or opposing administrations to their ideology. When you know journalism is the most liberal profession in the United States of America, it becomes obvious why they cover Pete Hegseth 100% negatively, why they cover Donald Trump 89% of the time negatively. But when you look at Democratic Party, the most unpopular party, the least popular party in America at 19, 20% in some polls, they covered that party damn near 60 to 70 plus percent of the time positively. How? Because they're all Democrats. Headquarters in Democratic cities. And you don't think a bias is a problem? You don't think bias is the reason why legacy media has lost all credibility and trust by the American people? And here, Pete Hegseth brought one of the generals, I believe, and he's going to demonstrate exactly what kind of bombs they dropped on Iran.
Keep it going for a minute. You'll see inside the mission space. Unlike a normal surface bomb, you won't see an impact crater because they're designed to deeply bury and then function. I know there's been a lot of questions about that. All 6 weapons at each vent at Fordo went exactly where they were intended to go. A bomb has 3 effects that causes damage: blast, fragmentation, and overpressure. In this case, the primary kill mechanism in the mission space was a mix of overpressure and blast ripping through the open tunnels and destroying critical hardware. The majority of the damage we assessed based on our extensive modeling was a blast layer combined with the impulse extending from the shock. Imagine what this looks like 6 times over.
We now know from that briefing, first time we know it, is that as it was designed, as these massive ordnance penetrators with significant computer software engineering went directly down to those 3 ventilator shafts, specifically as designed. And until you actually do it, you never know if it's going to work. It worked. It seems to have worked flawlessly. That is very important information. He also pointed out some things we take for granted. You know, a Patriot interceptor is traveling at 3,000 miles an hour, about Mach 4, to hit a ballistic missile, traveling at about 6,000 miles an hour, Mach 8. This is really difficult. We take for granted how this stuff all works. I thought that was very important to lay out. So as I come out of this briefing, I now know BDA level 2, as I mentioned. Level 1, first 24 hours, you're looking at imagery. Level 2, did the ordnance work? Did everything go as we had wanted? The answer now is yes. And we're now in the phase of level 3, collecting all sources of information and then putting that together with nuclear experts to determine if they have these pieces and parts here, could they reconstitute them? With some political analysts to say, would the Iranians do that? What would be the restraints? To then have a comprehensive assessment of where we are. With the objective being, Iran can never have a nuclear weapon and its enrichment program has to be completely destroyed. I think from what I've seen, the 20,000 centrifuges, you had about 17,000 in the Natanz, about 3,000 in Fordo, they are all completely destroyed. I am very confident those centrifuges are gone. The Israelis destroyed the centrifuge manufacturing production facilities that we know of. Isfahan, which is the conversion facility, key part of the fuel cycle, also appears to have been destroyed. So if you add it up from what we're seeing, massive catastrophic setback for Iran's program. The term of art, obliterated, destroyed, I kind of step out of that. This is an analytical process. It's important for the professionals now in the intelligence community to be able to do their work without political pressure and come out with their assessments. And we'll know soon enough.
And I agree with the guy, right? At the last clip that I showed you, that they should be able to do their job without any political pressure. But who created this political pressure? The leaker did. And it's always funny when these leakers come out, they always try to, in my view, with a cast of political motive, always try to use it to downplay or undermine what Donald Trump has been doing. And I think this is a bad look for Democrats specifically because, you know, their voters, a lot of these journalists are their voters, their supporters, their donors. And when they're doing stuff like this conflict of interest is too obvious to ignore. And I'm going to show you a clip of Chris Cuomo debating Bill O'Reilly about the competency of journalistic editorials printing this news story and how irresponsible it is, because a lot of these people who are relying on the Iran airstrike story, they use anonymous sources, and we know how anonymous sources say the most belligerent things, say the most untruthful things, right? Like the 51 agents that said that the Hunter Biden laptop story was Russian disinformation, and the reporter, I think her name was Natasha Bardrins, has been criticized before for her record of pushing breaking stories, and later on they've been found to be untrue.
As any kind of guide, there was a lot of internal dissent within the Russian government about whether or not and to what extent the Russians should interfere in the U.S. election and coordinate with Donald Trump. Trump said, Russia, if you're listening, it almost seemed like a signal. Intelligence experts have been telling me that it seemed like at that moment Trump was signaling to the Russians that it was okay for them to do that, and implicitly giving them his permission to do that. That it makes it much more plausible that Trump did go to Russia and he did have these kinds of sexual escapades with prostitutes. We know Trump has been traveling to Moscow for quite some time, and it just makes it all the more plausible that what the dossier says he did actually did occur. What if Donald Trump actually knew beforehand that the Russians planned to do this and was kind of giving them a signal to proceed? Because former intelligence officials that I spoke to said that this might have been, in fact, a signal to the Russians to give them kind of political cover in order to hack into Clinton's emails.
All right, Natasha, thanks so much. You covered this so closely, and it shows.
Yeah, so that lady you just saw, she works for CNN now. I even saw Joe Reed on CNN, so I don't know if CNN is planning to hire these people, or hire Joy Reid. Don't. To me, they got enough people. They laying off on a bunch of people. They might as well optimize the staff that they already have. They shouldn't bring someone like Joy Reid onto CNN, but I digress. And with all that context loaded up, right, it's going to make a whole lot of sense, my reactions to what Chris Cuomo's saying over here, because they're going to debate about this stuff, and it seems like Chris Cuomo, he's giving his colleagues the benefit of the doubt, because Chris Cuomo used to work at CNN. So to me, there's a bias there. He's going to look at he's going to give CNN more benefit of the doubt, while Bill O'Reilly comes from Fox News. So he's going to be more biased to be more harsh or more critical of what CNN is going to do. I want to lay out those biases that I observe, and I'm going to be very critical of CNN, because just look at the results. How you could be wrong so many damn times about so many damn storylines, yet CNN still hired this girl as their star reporter. Come on. For the White House press? Oh, come on. And then is this plausible deniability that CNN is playing? Oh, we just reported on the fact that the intelligence agency was the one that reported it. But the way you went about it, the way you frame it, everyone, especially with your track record of covering Donald Trump negatively, it fits into this theory that many people have about the mainstream media, and I believe it's highly true, that the mainstream media has a negative bias against Donald Trump, and any story that allows them to create a headline, to create a negative perception on Donald Trump, they'll jump on it.
CNN used 4 anonymous sources to try to diminish the bombing raid, what
Agreed.
they do. But even worse was the news outlets have picked it up as fact. So anonymous sources are easy. You can get anybody to say anything. And when I read the article, I said, how do these anonymous sources know? There's nobody on the ground there. There's nobody who went under the mountain to see. The Iranians can't even do that because the mountain may collapse on them. There's absolutely no primary source reporting on the damage that the American planes caused. None. So you got 4 anonymous people saying, well, I might have heard this, I might have heard that. It's absurd. No competent journalist.
It's gossip. That's all it is. It's gossip. No one can verify. The White House argument is they have good faith that it was successful because of the capabilities. They understand the capabilities of the weapons that they're using, which I demonstrated to you before I played this clip. In all likelihood, Donald Trump and his team are right that they are probably obliterated, because they dropped 6 of those things. And the explosion spreads out wide in any open space. Sounds like it could be successful with me. And they drop additional bombs on top of those bombs. So based on probability, you would think it's more likely they destroyed everything than not likely. And CNN will take the not likely scenario just to create negative press on Donald Trump. And many people are seeing through it. But, let's continue.
Editor would have printed that article. But since CNN is in business to make Trump look bad, as you said, every moment of every day, they throw it out there. But I think we all know that the journalism industry in America and the world is at the lowest point in the history of that industry is right now.
I think that it's trying too hard to compete with these pod bros and people who sell hysteria for profit. And we should just stick to what we do best, because in truth, podcasts have their place, don't get me wrong. I love having one, but they don't have any of the assets or capabilities of getting things right, or reporting or investigating the way real news agencies do. We just too often get caught up in the propaganda game. The only thing I disagree with you.
Imagine that. Like imagine how bad that sounds. To me, that sounds like a bad thing. We have all the resources. We have all the access to inform the American people more accurately than people online who just happen to be paying attention more than the average American. And they get it more right than you and your ilk, Chris Cuomo? That's what you just admitted to me. How is it that I'm able to, in a more balanced way, even though I admit, hey, I'm biased, I have a preference for certain things, I know I'm gonna look at these things favorably, the best I can do to my audience is give clarification on where I'm coming from. I don't try to frame, I do frame things because it's my opinion, but I give you clarification why I believe these things. And you make up your mind. Hey, you disagree, you agree with me, neutral, more balanced than me. Hey, I let you have it in the comment section. I get real-time feedback on my videos. You isolated, you don't get there's no comment section when you're doing your segments on television. You don't get real-time feedback about how your audience is taking the information you're giving them. And the fact that he bragged about, we got all these resources to get it right, yet you still get it wrong, is baffling to me. You have people like me, young people like me, I'm under the age of 30, saying that I'd rather trust the internet more than I'll trust the television. And you bragging about all these resources just to get it wrong.
You on is, and of course, Trump asked for it by saying everything was obliterated. So he asks for the criticism because he doesn't know that either. But
it's like if someone asks me, let's take it in the realm of sports, because this is the problem I have with the media. They take Trump very literally. They don't give Trump any benefit of the doubt, and that's a bias problem on them because they're trying to look for some negative thing to attack him on. Chris Cuomo already admitted this, and he's now sitting here pretending, Trump invited this criticism. What do you mean? Trump has confidence in the capability of the military. That's what's driving that statement. He said that. But you want to paint it as a bad thing. You want to paint it as, Trump said it was all obliterated. He didn't know that. He knows the capabilities of the weapons that they drop. He was probably brief on the amount of damage those weapons are capable of. So why wouldn't he have a high degree of confidence? It's like me saying, who will win the three-point contest? I'll say Stephen Curry, and I'll be on a bound of probabilities. I'll be mostly right about that prediction. So Donald Trump's doing the same thing, but there's no benefit of the doubt here. There's no balance here. Both making a claim, so it gives you room to now try to cast doubt, go out of your way to cast doubt on his assertion instead of giving a case for why it may not be the case. Like, come on. One out of all 17 intelligence agencies, you took the word of one without any alternative opinion or alternative source. One said something that you could use to negatively attack Trump, and y'all just ran with it? That don't sound like journalism to me. I thought journalists were supposed to wait until they had 3 sources before they put out a story. But CNN only gets one from one agency and then they run with it? And these people don't want to put their name behind their statements? And you think that gives you a high degree of confidence that the information could be factual and true? Suspicious.
anonymous sources matter, Bill. If it weren't for anonymous sources in your career and mine, very often you wouldn't know anything about what's happening in the halls of power because people aren't going to put their name to things because they get fired. So anonymous sources have their place. You just got to get it right.
I don't use them. And I've been pretty damn successful for 50 years in this business. I don't use them. Now, if I'm told something, I check it out another way. And you can always do that. If I had something vital, like there was going to be an explosion at this address tonight, and I had to get it out, I would tell people why I'm doing the anonymous source thing. if I had to do it. But I don't use them. I don't do a podcast. I do a broadcast. And you're absolutely right. The podcasters couldn't care less about what's true or what isn't. They just want people to watch them. Mm-hmm. They want attention. And that's what they do, and it's a huge industry. But I disagree with you about CNN. CNN knows better. They're so desperate to try to get some kind of surge of people to watch that they'll violate every
Well, they see what's happening on the left. And look, again, you and I disagree about CNN. Even though I got fired, I have a lot of respect for the men and women who are doing the job there, and I miss a lot of them. And I think it's a great place. But when they're wrong, they're wrong. When they do things they shouldn't, they shouldn't. I don't blame the whole place. You got to look at the specific platform. But they see what's happening on the left. You see that they're in MAGA mode, and they are all in on the mirror image of MAGA.
No. Like, no left-wing movement is like MAGA. MAGA is Make America Great Again. It's centered in nationalism, civic nationalism, what the left ideology is rallying over. Power and control. Hey, we want socialism. We want to change this system into an unproductive, the least effective, efficient system known to man called socialism. We want to create the world in our image. While MAGA is suited in, let's protect the interests of our citizens, the interests of our people, and do things that's in the benefit of our citizens, not loyalty to foreign actors and foreign people. We should be number one priority. And you're trying to conflate them to be the same. And this is where the bias as Chris Cuomo comes out, that he thinks that MAGA is just some emotional populist movement. No. Any change, if you look at the history of politics, anything that has ever changed in politics is always driven by populism. Always. Populism always drives change. And the same thing is now happening in the Democratic Party. You see the Democratic Civil War going on right now with the socialists and progressives feeling like they smell blood in the water and they're trying to take position. And this New York City mayor majorital race, I'm keeping a close eye on this because this is a litmus test to see what left-wing populism looked like. Left-wing populism, in my view, is a fairy tale. It's an idealistic, impragmatic, like these people don't know how to execute their vision. Because every time socialism fails, every time these socialists attempt to create socialism in their cities, counties, districts, and it fails, other socialists say, oh, that's not real socialism. So what you just admitted to me is that every self-proclaimed socialist is not actually capable of creating socialism. So why should Americans even trust you to attempt it in the first place? And that's a question every socialist, every progressive, every leftist has to ask themselves. Because every politician that's close to socialist, progressive, like Brandon Johnson, right? AOC. Ever since AOC became a congresswoman, she has been one of the least successful Democratic Congress, the least effective Democrat in the House. She don't pass much bills. She's just there to get social media following and be a messenger, like Jasmine Crockett. But what you ask, what things you have done for your district? Her district is complaining about her. She don't even go to her district anymore. This is the reality of the people, Democrats that's closer to socialism. This is the reality. And you want them to run stuff? Half the time they can't even run their own lives. Half the time they can't even run their own cities where they have full control over. Look at California. Look at LA. Democrats dominate that state from top bottom. And they can't manage it effectively. Yet you think these people should be able to create a system that they'll have more impact over your everyday life? Hell no. But I digress. Let me know your thoughts and perspectives in the comment section below. I'll be interested to hear what you have to say. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Please share this video if you're so inclined. It really does help me on the algorithm. And I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.